Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. This video, we are finally going to be installing some rafters. In the previous video, you saw that we gang cut all of these common rafters with the chainsaw. Is that really worth doing? Is it accurate enough? Well, stay tuned throughout this video. I will show you. If it wasn't, we wouldn't be doing it. Anyway, flew the drone inside the house because that seemed to be the best way to show how the skeleton went together. I will show in a future video how these ceilings framed out, but for the purposes of this video, this is just more of a preview. Here's how it went together. So let's go ahead and get right into setting the rafters. All right, so let's get into what we are looking at besides those two handsome studs setting rafters. Let me just explain what this whole process is. The ridge beam, which is what we're nailing the rafters into, is a 5.5, I believe 5.5 by 13.5 in this case. It spans from the gable to the left that's out of the frame to the post that's to the right, and then it goes from that post all the way over to the right. And you can kind of see it in the beginning of the video. I'll point it out as we go along. But the post on the far right doesn't really line up with anything. And I'll show you that in a minute. So we put a temp post. Screwed it all together with GRK so we can take it apart later. What we're doing right now is we're setting common rafters. These were the 24-foot 2x12 Doug Fir that we cut in the previous video. Now, out of all of our scrap, we cut those 2x6 with the bevel. Those are blocks that nail in between the rafters with a notch for venting. Basically what the point of these what's the proper grammar? What the point of the blocks is, am I saying that right? Yeah, I'm saying that right. The point of the blocks is to provide edge nailing for the roof sheathing diaphragm. That is according to our engineer. I kind of like installing them because it gives me something to butt the rafter against. So what I do is when I install the block, like you'll see here, first I'm going to finish that guy. Uno, dos. Basically what our detail is, 2x12 rafters butt the ridge, 4 nails total is what the engineer has calced out. We tend to go more than that because it's just what we do. The block I tack once on the right where it flushes to the top of the rafter, and I'm going to leave it unnailed until the rafter itself is set. Beautimous. I mean, that is on the line. Okay, I'm out of nails. Notice Kyle at the bottom of the screen. He is standing on a glue lamb. I think it's 5.5 by 15 that spans the garage. We have double 2x10 hangers that will hold the ceiling joists. You can see them there. That's what we're standing on. And you can see that the rafters have no tails. They're going to butt the beam. Think of this glue lamb where Kyle's at the bottom left as like a girder truss, and your common trusses hanger into that. Same thing. We're going to overframe this roof. Very simple way to do it. All we got to do is cut the tails off, and if we adjust the beam slightly, then we can adjust it so the heel of the seat is flush with the underside of the rafter. I know that's a lot. It's kind of hard to visualize an earthquake. So here's how we lay that out. This represents the outside of our building line. So just imagine that this is the top plate of the walls. But because we want the heel to land in the hanger, we drew this all out earlier. What we need to do is we need to cut back to where the hanger's at. We located the glue lamb on top of those walls. This worked out to be 3/4 of an inch back. So this is what the glue lamb would look like. Like my glue lamb that I made. So this beam shoots down, and then each one of these rafters fits in the hanger. And we're aiming for the heel. We usually cheat this back just a hair. For those of you that are experienced, you can probably visualize it. It doesn't really matter at this point. I could probably add some B-roll and show that if I was smart enough. Maybe I'll get that tomorrow. Okay, something's goofy with this. Okay, that guy's a little low. So I'm kind of splitting. Okay, I could tell with the block. That's better. Can you hang on it, Noah? Yeah, I got to really wail on it. Okay. Let's get the next one completely ready. What we were fighting was the double 2x10 hangers. We're just a little on the tight side. We already had the ceiling joist in there. When we set them with a block in the ceiling joist so that I could toenail through the double shear nails of the hanger itself. Anyway, sometimes they just fit a little tight. So the order of operation is the rafter, in this case, it's all toenailed. It's to layout. Our engineer specified 4 toenails. He did the analysis. Then, so 1, 2, I adjust the block to the new rafter because I'm lining that heel up with a snapped line on the ridge. That means that the plane of the rafters is all the same. And so instead of having to measure the air gap, if you attach it on the right, since we're working right to left, attach it on the right, set the next rafter exactly on the line, toenail it, raise the block, now it's nailed flush, etc., etc. In this case, we're coming from the gable, so we're working our way back. Those of you that are eagle-eyed, Cherry, you can see that we have little blocks up on the rake wall. That's because the rake wall was just a little longer than our 20-foot plates, and that little plate doesn't matter. Here is a look from the backside. You notice where Kyle's at on the left? These all have tails, and they're cut like minimum 1/4 inch short at the tail because we want to make sure it fits into our soffit. And by the time we nail all of that, and we'll throw in a few structural screws as the case might be. When rough framing meets rough finish carpentry. That's okay. Editing. Just cut like 1/8 off of the block. I shouldn't have even tried it. Yeah, because that guy has a block. I thought I was going to get it, but... Sometimes our glue lamb is a little on the funky side. Previous house was that way. By snapping a line on the beam for the heel, it guarantees that the heels will all be the same. Now, because we racked the rafters, we also know that the depth of the rafter was pretty consistently 11 1/4, plus or minus 1/8. None of that matters. We're going to put roof shingles on this. Incidentally, if I get on my high horse, there is no such thing as framing to the 32nd. Anybody that tells you that they do that is a liar, because from about a foot away, you can't see a 32nd. So, what are they framing with magnifying glasses? I don't think so. Anyway, that's me calling. If you know who I'm talking about, then you know. I'm just having some fun. There's some East Coast framers that I have a lot of respect for that claim to frame to the 32nd. I'm like, I love you, man. We can trade whiskey, you know, our favorite whiskeys, and make recommendations, but I don't think you're framing to the 32nd. Who cares? Let's just observe the beauty that is roof framing in the sun. All right, so let me scribe these because I'm going to kind of work my way the other way. On to the other side of the house, where it was a triple 2x12 ridge. You can see the air gap over at the rake wall. Since our layout started at the rake wall for studs, floor joists, for everything, then that's what we laid out the ridge before we lifted it in place. However, the way that I have to work away, this will be a lot easier if I have the mark. There's my sweet titanium Martinez square. Yes, you can make fun of me because it's quite expensive, but it's still worth it because it makes me feel good.
Not too bad.
In this case, I am making sure that the block aligns with the rake wall. Then I'm going to measure it parallel to that section of ridge and get it close. I'm going to add one more nail so that the block is held. Basically, I want to get a couple of rafters in. Then I can use my level to verify whether or not they plane the way that I want them to plane. So go bare minimum for these first couple. Excuse me, that is the kombucha speaking.
I have no idea if I'm planing. I'm gonna go to where I feel like I'm close. And I'm gonna tack it because I can always lower it. Of course, I'm right on a knot. Hey Noah, do we have I'll take the 8-foot level because we probably don't have the 6-footer out. Nah, because we don't have the 6-foot. Yeah. We'll just use the biggest level on the job site. So that's pretty good. I could go down a hair. If you want to give that to Kyle. I think that's fine.
So I think you get the point, although it's only one rafter. So once we get a couple more, then I'm going to keep checking that plane. But you kind of get a feel for some of this stuff as you go.
1 3/4.
Notice that I am not using my tape measure. I can just use my speed square. I don't know. This is just one of those things. Does it save a lot of time? I don't know that yeah, it does. It saves a little bit. But for me, it's more about just the simplicity and it's easy.
2 and 11, 2 and 12. Okay. I feel comfortable with that. Nice.
Some of you might be thinking, hey, having a ground guy is inefficient. You could have just stacked all your blocks up there. You're 100% right. I will say that handling heavy rafters and being on a plank, it's safer to have somebody toss blocks, and you always need a ground person.
Nice.
Because there's something, it might drop my hammer or whatever. I've done it, man, we framed two of us for many years, and it's much more tiring. So it is more efficient that way, but this is much easier. And when you're not exhausted, you make fewer mistakes. I somehow seem to make just as many, whether I'm tired or not.
Got it. And if you come over here, can I hand you this? Yeah. Very good. Ready? Yeah. Yeah, I would call that pretty stinking good. That's what I'm thinking, which we suspected would happen, right?
You noticed that the gable trim, the white board there on the right, it was maybe an 8, 3/16 low. I don't think it was a quarter. Let's just call it a quarter. So we still have to install lookouts. So that's going to help us to bring that back up. Remember, we pre-built that wall and lifted it. So we expect some amount of movement down.
And let's see what it looks like on the rake wall now that we got more. Get my wife's name out your mouth. That's pretty funny. I forgot about that. Get your wife's name out your mouth. All right, Dio Double Dizzle. Kyle, Noah, can you take one of our longest 2x6s, cut a 5/12 plumb cut? You like it there? Yeah. If I'm gonna pull this rafter, if you could snap it. Yeah, nice. The rafter's only supporting itself. And I think we're fine. I'm not gonna overthink it. Rule number 93 of Awesome Framers, top 10 rules for awesome framing and doing other things in life awesome too. Underthink everything. Like Noah, he underthought where to put that brace. Yeah, we'll kind of work it. Oh, let me go up.
So you could make an argument that we should have just cut one more rafter, but at like $130 a piece,
Go up a little, Kyle.
why? It's basically just a ledger to support some of the roof sheathing. And when we sheathed it and climbed around on it, it didn't move. It didn't move with these really good-looking, muscular,
Yeah.
awesome framers climbing around on it.
And then just make sure, Noah, that you don't nail too low. About 2.5 inches is the difference in boards. Oh, we can make that work. Well, you know, we probably will need a couple for that ridge, but that's good. I don't want extras.
Oh yeah, I forgot. We framed the entire roof using the Passload XP nailers because we just didn't feel like dealing with hoses. And you can see, we're not there to break a speed record. We're there to be really accurate. And as it turned out, this roof was really flat. So then it was just more convenient. Having said that, I do have a relationship now. This is year number 2. Actually, I think technically I signed with Passload late June, early July last summer. So anyway, just so for full transparency's purposes.
Yeah, it's always a little bit of fudging, but it's roof plane that's most important now.
Yeah, so now we're only an eighth lower than this.
Than that guy.
Yeah. Oh, even not, maybe a 16th. I would just say. Yeah.
Call it. Okay.
And,
Okay. All right, then I think that's it for this.
All right, so let's take a look at the roof now that the skeleton is framed. On the right is that little gable roof. It's a vaulted ceiling. Remember we framed that rake wall? That allows light to go in over the stairway and part of the entry. On the right-hand side here, there's the glue lamb that the rafters hanger into. Of course, this is the ridge beam with some of that front dormer framing. Little section of that will have to get overframed as we sheathe. Triple ridge, hey, we left a Sawzall blade there. As you can tell, we got our money was worth out of that one. There's no red from Diablo left. There's how all of the ridge blocks and the venting will work. I know some people think we don't have enough venting, but I tell you from personal experience doing this a long time, when we get into this attic, we will feel the air movement when it's all said and done and finished. Anyway, 64 feet across, whatever the depth is, out of 24-foot rafters. There's just something about the lumber and the sunshine. It's just, I mean, come on. That is just a thing of beauty. Okay, on the right, you notice the zip system hangs up and is nailed into those blocks. Again, that just helps transfer those diaphragm loads from the roof down into the supporting walls below. There's another look at that. Those blocks are 11 inches tall. They have a bevel, vent notch. Remember that our closed soffit had already been installed. Now we go up and over. That is an ugly rafter. Good thing we pull layout. We also have blocks up against that beam. Again, that's for edge nailing on the roof sheathing. There's the plank setup, how we set all of this. The column there, kind of on the left, that will come out because it doesn't line up with anything. I will show you how the ceilings all frame together maybe in the next video. I kind of lose track of what I'm doing. Okay, that is it. Thank you everybody for watching. Please hit that like and subscribe button. I really appreciate it.